So I hope that everybody has had a good conference the past 2 days and that you've encountered fresh ideas, met new people, and had time to reflect on your own practices, whether as a teacher or an administrator, and the unique place that each of us has in contributing to this great effort of taking Chinese language and culture to the students in the USA. I know that 11 years ago, when I came to my very first National Chinese Language Conference, it was so affirming to me. As a teacher in a school, I was the only Chinese teacher starting a Chinese program, just to be among hundreds of other people that were doing the same thing that I was. And you know, in your classroom, you get very isolated sometimes, and it was so nice to gather just as we are today and realize we're all in this together. And whatever your role is in this effort, know that your effort is never wasted because you're touching the lives of one student, and you never know where one student's going to go. So we have a large program, but it is a school by school, classroom by classroom, teacher by teacher, student by student program. And so all of us are part of the same network of teaching Chinese. So on behalf of all of the students, the parents, the teachers, and the administrators, and the public leaders in Utah, I would like to thank College Board and Asia Society for the tremendous opportunity it's been for us to host NCLC here in Utah. We know that having had this experience will really help us to continue to improve the quality of our program, as many of our teachers and administrators have been able to join with you over these past 2 days. It always goes so quickly, too fast. So many of you, just like Bob was mentioning, have commented about the beauty of the city here in Utah, and we do truly appreciate it that we can enjoy the benefits of the hard work of the people that came before us. So in looking at this Salt Lake Valley that we see today, it's hard to imagine what it looked like in 1847 when the first settlers, the pioneer settlers, came here, and it was a complete desert, not even a tree. And we look at it today, and we see how beautiful it is, and we know it's because of the hard work of people over the years in building that up. You might be aware that Utah is also known as the Beehive State, and that's our state symbol, recognizing what can be accomplished when we all work together for a common aim. And at the time when those pioneers first came here, they had a vision. And that vision was that the desert would blossom as a rose. And I think today we can see that. Likewise, in Chinese language education, each of us, whether the only teacher in a school or whether we're part of a larger group, needs to find and keep the vision of what it is that we're working towards. Not just trying to get the tones perfect, right? There's a bigger picture so that we can each bring our beauty to this effort and to the people of the world through that ability to connect with Chinese language and culture. So last evening, we had a local event gathering to honor host families and partner teachers that are in the Immersion program. And I call them the invisible heroes in making our program blossom. The theme of our evening was titled, "Together We Are More." And today, as we head into the final hours of this conference, I would put that same message out to all of you, that together we are more, as we reach out in collaboration, just as Bob was mentioning, to build new programs, to strengthen the existing ones, and to become a force for increasing access for American students to learn Chinese language and culture. Please know that in Utah, we are always willing to collaborate with you. We want to learn from you as we all reach forward for the next level of whatever type of program we're a part of. So thank you. If I could have the slide about our history. So a little bit of history. You've heard quite a bit from our politicians in the last couple of days about how our program began in 2008. In 2008, we had a governor, Governor Huntsman, who spoke Mandarin Chinese and was very committed to the fact that students should learn Chinese. And so he brought that to the legislature. Senator Howard Stevenson, who you heard from the opening night, created legislation that has funded our dual language immersion program ever since. These photos represent Governor Huntsman, Howard Stevenson, and our current governor, Governor Herbert, who you heard. And we certainly owe everything to them for our program. I've been in this role as the director for the past 5 years, and when I came on, Greg Roberts was the head of our DLI program. Many of you may have heard of him, and he played a great role. So we know that the top leadership is always important in building any program. But I really feel like what each area needs to find is where the passion is, where the energy is, and build on that. If we could look at the next slide. In our case, when I came on 5 years ago, this graphic shows you how many schools we started with and how many were added each year. And so we grew very quickly, starting with 8 schools the first year, had 14 the next. So at the time I came on, we were at about 28 schools in a matter of 4 or 5 years. That's a lot of schools, that's a lot of principals, that's a lot of parents. I say we have 11,000 students, that means we have at least 22,000 parents, and that's a lot of conferences, right? A lot to deal with. So trying to build something so quickly means that it can't be perfect. And a lot of us, if you're like me, you like to have everything just right. But when you're building a program, we can't be perfect. So today, with our panelists, they're going to give you the inside view of what it's really been like going through this process of trying to fly the airplane at the same time you're building it. And that's never a pretty picture. But we're getting to the point now where we see the results of that. So that's just a little bit on our history. I'd like to introduce our panel now. And in the interest of time, let's have each of our panelists just take a minute to use 1 or 2 sentences to let us know how you are connected to the program and how long you've been connected to it and anything else about yourself.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Fuller. I'm from Washington County School District in St. George, Utah, which is about the south you can go in the state of Utah. I am the dual immersion coordinator for our district, in which we have a very large Mandarin program that started 7 years ago. We also have Spanish and Portuguese that we in the district offering immersion for our students. We have a very imperfect program, but we are growing and building every step of the way, and it's been very successful.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Xiaoqian Xu. I work for Provo City School District. I originally from Beijing, China, and now I'm teaching at Wasatch Elementary School, first grade Chinese dual immersion program, and I taught for almost 6 years. And I just love this program. I first heard about this program during my graduate study at University of Utah. One of the professors just recommended I should try this program. So this program just interested me from the beginning, and I just love it.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Julie Porter. I'm Xiaoqian's English side, the partner teacher at Wasatch Elementary. I was approached about 9 years ago, before they started the program, to see if I would be willing to start it in first grade, and they said kindergarten would start first, and then they came back and said, we don't have funding for kindergarten, you're going to start it. So I was like, okay. So I've been with it from the very beginning, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been a wonderful experience to see what these children can learn at such a young age. I've had 2 wonderful partners to be able to work with.
I'm Hilda Hansen. I work with the Weber School District, but today I'm here in the capacity as a parent. I have 2 daughters who have gone through the immersion program. Well, they're in it currently, a 4th grader and a 6th grader, and it has been a completely amazing experience for not just them, but for our entire family, and I'm excited to be here today.
Hi there, Piper Riddle. I'm the principal at Heber Valley Elementary. I had the pleasure to serve as the Chinese language specialist for Canyon School District for 4 years, and then to move to Draper Elementary to be the principal there for 4 years with the Mandarin program. And being part of the Mandarin Dual Immersion program and learning about the Chinese culture has enriched my life, both professionally and personally. It's been a pleasure.
My name is Mark Eilman. I'm a student at Corner Canyon High School. 今年是我9年学中文. This year is my 9th year studying Chinese, and I'm going to keep studying it for a few more years.
Hi, I'm McKay Larson. I'm, along with Mark, a 9th grader at Corner Canyon High School, and I've been in the immersion since the beginning, too.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yoin Yao. This is my 5th year as a 2nd grade dual language immersion teacher in Canyon School District. I'm from Hanbang College program, and I really enjoying the experience here. Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Well, let's just jump right in and ask our panelists here. We'd like to sort of take you on a bit of a journey from the past to the present and the future, where we see the program heading. So let's look back just briefly. We heard from our partner teachers here about the fact that you'd been from the very beginning, Julie. Maybe you could share with us and anybody else here what your initial impressions were when you heard about immersion, and then we'll maybe go to the students.
We had, I had a principal that had a really good vision of it, and so what she wanted to do was she took us to Minnesota, where they were doing a full-day dual immersion. So we were able to actually go and see an established program. I think that really helped me to be able to say, okay, I can do this, and I could talk to some teachers that had been a part of this. I knew our program would be a little different because we were doing a 50-50 instead of the whole day, but to be able to see what young children, my master's degree is from Purdue University, and I've been an early childhood educator. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that young children could adapt to and could be able to do. And I've been amazed with how that they can do it. So it was a little hard at first, to just the whole logistics of it and going through. But since I knew that there was established programs, that kind of helped me to know that we could do it.
All right. Thank you, Minnesota. Do we have any Minnesota teachers here?
Huh? Yay!
Thank you. I also know that we went to Portland, and do we have Portland teachers here? Yeah? Maybe? All right. Well, let's go to our students and find out about how you felt when you heard you were going to be learning Chinese, or how that decision came about.
I mean, when I was in 1st grade, that's when I heard about it. I didn't really know, what Chinese was. So my parents just said, "You're going to learn Chinese?" And I'm like, okay. I didn't really choose, but I'm really glad that I learned Chinese.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me. I mean, I wasn't the one making the decision to start in the program, but once I was able to realize what it was, I thought it was really cool, and it kind of just became a part of what I was learning, and it was an everyday thing in school.
Okay. Why don't we just take a minute with both of you to just move a little bit further along that experience. So starting out, it wasn't necessarily your decision.
No, it was not.
Did there come a time when you wanted it to be your decision? I mean, the fact that you're still here after 9 years says something, that you didn't give up on it, or did you run into trouble along the way and think this is just too hard, or things like that? Tell us about your journey a little bit.
I think there was a time where it became like I could make the decision, but there was never a time that I really wanted to leave the program. About 5th or 6th grade, that's when the kids were old enough to kind of make their own decisions, and so there were some kids that were starting to leave, but I never felt a want to leave because I thought it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, a lot of people were dropping out because they thought it was too hard or they just didn't have any interest. And so about 6th or 7th grade, that was when I had to decide, am I going to keep doing this or am I going to stop? And I'm really glad that I kept doing this because I've learned a lot.
So what made you stay?
I like to finish what I start. That's
Good job, Mom and Dad. Let's ask Yu Lao Shi about his experience getting selected to come to Utah. What was it like stepping into the classroom that first year?
So I think it takes me about 1 year to get used to the life, to the work style here. It's very different. I have been taught Chinese in Thailand for 3 years, but even after that, it seems very different for me to teach Chinese immersion here. But the kids can learn really fast. That really impressed me. Yeah, I just try my best to get ready, to get used to the work here, and then hope we can have fun together and learn together. Yeah.
Can I talk about something
Sure.
like that? I just wanted to say how important that I'm going to put a plug in for the English partner, because I'm hoping that you had a good English partner that would help you, because I think that's what really makes the program successful. If you have somebody that will take them under their wing and just let them know, hey, this is what you need to do, because it is different. It's a different culture, and helping them to understand. I mean, even today, we were going to the breakfast, and Xiao Chen, I mean, she's been in the United States for years, but she's like, what are those? And they were the butter balls, you know? And so it's just things like that we don't think about. If you create a communication with your partner where you can just ask any question, no matter how little you think it might be, and know that that person is not going to judge you and just say, yeah, that's a butterball. So I just think that that's important to have that connection that you can have together.
Yeah, this program is really a teamwork. Like, you have to work with your partner all together. This is our kid. This is our student. We are on the same page, and we just work with the student all together. For us, especially at the beginning of school year, me and my partner teacher, we almost meet on a daily basis. During lunchtime, we talk about our struggle learners or some students that have some behavior issues that she can help me to deal with in her afternoon class, and we just work together. It really makes a difference.
And how long have you been partners?
6 years. I had a fantastic partner at the beginning, Nancy West. I didn't think I could get anyone better, and then Xiao Chen walked in, and it's just, they've been both wonderful. So.
And we really do find that in our program, don't we? That this is really the key to making things work, is that partnership between the English and Chinese teacher.
Can I add to that
do.
too? Well, not just partnership between the teachers, which is so important, but it needs to also be your administration, your school community, not just the immersion parents, but the traditional non-immersion parents. They all need to feel that this is a part of it, because especially when you talk about the beginning, it can be a little threatening. They're not sure what to make of it, what's going to come into their school. And so having that transparency and open communication, I think, is invaluable in building a strong program.
Let's go to Piper. Piper, tell us about when you came to Draper Elementary School. This was a school that was already established as a Chinese immersion school. And how did you manage this type of issue with parents and bringing the community together?
Yeah, so I was familiar with Draper Elementary because I was supporting them as the district specialist, and then so excited to be able to work at the ground level with teachers and students. I'm going to put a plug in that I had the treat to go to China and meet Yo and hire him right from there. And so we've had a special relationship from the get-go, because it was his first year as a teacher in the U.S. and my first year as a principal. And we learned a lot together. That being said, so one thing that I heard a lot from parents as I first came into the building and garnered feedback was that there was kind of a division between dual immersion and non-dual immersion. And so we worked as a staff and with our PTA and school community council to come up with ideas of how we could better unify our school community. So the audience might know, but just in case, we're a strand within a typical program. So for example, 5 teachers per grade, 2 of those would be Chinese language immersion teachers, pardon me,
So
English
it's not
partner
the,
teacher.
It's not the whole school.
Not the
that's
whole school,
doing
yeah.
immersion.
And then other grades that are just typical classes. And so having the dual immersion kids and the non-dual immersion kids sometimes created just a barrier as far as socialization and unity. So we worked really hard on unifying first the staff. So I noticed in the faculty room, they sat at different tables. We had the Chinese language table and the English table. So I got one big table so that everybody sat at the same table. And then started to work with the parents to make sure that our leadership in the parent groups was inclusive of all. And then started mixing up kids within the master schedule. So, like many schools, we have specialist programs like computer and library and music, art. And that was a great opportunity to do some cross-pollination, if you will, across the grade level, all students getting mixed up into those tribes and going to specials that way. Letting them go to lunch and not necessarily sit with just their group, but be able to sit with anybody in their grade level and socialize and get to know each other. It made a big difference. Pretty soon, we started receiving phone calls from parents saying, gosh, Tommy hasn't played with Johnny since kindergarten when he got into dual immersion. And now they're friends again because they have PE class together and they eat lunch together. So it made a big difference.
This is something that we have noticed as a very, very obvious trend as we have grown. Probably about 5 years ago is when we really began to see that happen, and our principals have had to be very creative in addressing that in their schools, sort of this natural separation. So if anybody wants to do some social research on the impacts of immersion between relationships within communities of schools, we've got a lot of people to help with that. Let's go to Hilda. You were nodding your head as she was speaking there.
So my daughter started, she's in 6th grade, so she started in 1st grade, and of course as a Chinese parent, I never saw the division because I was in the classroom until people would say, when we were choosing for our children or helping them choose, I pretend they had a choice. When we were helping them decide, it was something that I felt strongly about being a child of bicultural parents. My mother's Hispanic, my dad's white, and I wanted my children to have a global view, and so for me it was a no-brainer. However, for some parents, they felt like there was favoritism towards the children in the Mandarin program, and our school followed a very similar pattern a couple years ago where they combined the non-Mandarin classes with the traditional classes, and it's been great. They go to gym, computer, lunchtime, so that's been a really nice thing to see because then the parents don't feel like they're being put off to the side for another program. But it's been an amazing experience for my children, and I know we're going to talk a little more later about a cultural experience. But just as a parent, it has been incredible to watch these kids, and it's been incredible to have a choice for my children to be able to learn about, accept, and be part of something outside of themselves.
Since we're talking about division among students, I'd like to just quickly get an input from our 2 students. Were you aware of a division between yourself and other students in the school? If you were, how did you respond to that?
Yeah, I think I was definitely aware that there was a division, and we are also, we're in the 1st year of the immersion here, so we were kind of clearing the path, so we kind of they hadn't started these things to get everyone unified, so we were kind of really separate, and from the teacher relationship point, even as a kid in elementary school, you can definitely feel the difference when your Chinese teacher won't even talk to your English teacher, and it really worked a lot better in class when they did, but then also from the other students, like with relations with other students, there was definitely a division, and it got better, but it really made you feel different, and so that was a hard part. It also kind of made you feel special because they didn't like you because you were learning something they weren't. but it was definitely there.
Okay, be honest. Did you do the say something in Chinese so that about the other person at
Oh,
the
yeah, no,
playground?
that
or
was
something?
definitely something that happened
I
in
know, we
elementary
have to
school.
talk about that.
And maybe that's why they didn't like us.
That's right.
Did you have a comment? Did you want to add anything to that? All right. Let's go to back to Hilda for a minute. I know that you recently took your family to China over spring break for the first time. You as a parent, not being a Chinese speaker, your husband either, how have you been able to support your students in their learning?
You know, we have been incredibly fortunate to have teachers who give us tools, whether it's something online, whether it's finding tutors. My girls have participated in tutoring groups where I get a bunch of them together, or just they'll send us things online. There's books online. They have created, I can't think of what it's called. Marty, help me out here. The Quizlets. So then I can see the English equivalent to what they're learning, and I can speak very little, but I can kind of help them that way. And I've been blessed to have teachers that I can send a message to and be like, okay, where do I go for this? How do I help them? So that has never been an issue for us, because I felt like it was literally Chinese. I do not understand any of it, but we've had perfect support from administration, teachers, other students. So that's been great. But yeah, we were able to take our family to China and do Beijing, Xi'an, and I'm going to say this wrong, Shanghai? Shanghai. My kids corrected me the whole trip. But it was so neat because, again, I wanted my children to have a global perspective, to realize there's more than themselves and our American ideology. And it was just beautiful to see them interact. The people of China were so impressed that these little kids could speak so well. I mean, they're quite fluent. And then it was, hopefully I don't cry, we got to spend half a day in Xi'an in class with the students, and our students got to participate. Sorry. But it was the most incredible experience of my life to see them interact, and I gained such a love for the people. And of course, we did all the neat things like the terracotta warriors and the Great Wall, but just to be able to have my children see that we are all a huge family. We are all united, and I don't think I could have expected so much from a trip, but it was beautiful, and it actually kind of recharged my children to have a desire to keep going. My oldest has always just been gung-ho. My youngest was skeptical at times, but I've never seen them react to anything the way they did that trip, and it was beautiful. It was something they got to do in school. That was something school, but they got to apply it in real life, and I could never take that experience away. That was just the most amazing thing we were able to do as parents for our children.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to share, we had a family that I just got a letter from parent with a student in 6th grade, and they too took their child to China over spring break. And she was just reiterating to me, we had, well, a little aside, we've got a summer school program coming up, and there was an issue with registration. Those things happen, right? And she was letting me know that no matter what the headaches are, and there are some as you're going through this program, she said, just to let you know that this is amazing. And talking about relationships, they went to China, they were visiting the 1st grade teacher that had come over in their school as a Hanban teacher, and they had hosted them. So it had been 5 years, they had stayed in contact, and now they were going over to spring break to visit this teacher and visit China. And she said, I just need to tell you, and she says, anybody else you can let know, this program's amazing. It's changing lives. It's changing the life of my son. It's changing the life of my family. It's changing the life of our community. And so it's truly been powerful, and so our parents are so grateful for it, and it's just wonderful to be part of.
Thank you for that. We just saw Yo Lao Shu's students do this wonderful cultural performance. And I wonder if we could ask Yo Lao Shu to tell us about how you brought culture into your classroom and what ways you use to motivate your students, because they certainly seem very motivated to me.
Thank you. Yeah, they did great job. I think because we have a lot of things to learn, like they learn Chinese and then they use Chinese to learn math, so just studies and science. So we have a lot of like assignments to do, and so sometimes it seems very good for them to stand up, to move around and relax, and then we will go back into study. And the culture part is perfect to be put in between the subjects. And they are so excited to learn Chinese culture, and we have so many fun together to like play kung fu. And there's one way I use a lot in my classroom is doing the competition. So like the first group, the second group, the third group, and the winner is, so they will be very excited. So I'm very excited too, so they did a great job.
Stacy, can I add to that?
Please.
Because having had the chance to observe Yolo Shi's classroom many times, he brings an energy to the classroom that in itself is motivating. But perfect combination of structure, of high levels of engagement. He makes learning feel like a game. And so too often I would stay there longer than I had planned because I would be just as engaged as the kiddos in what he was teaching. He's done a really great job.
Well, and I just wanted to say, too, that I think that process of evolving, I know that I've always done a Chinese culture lesson. That was kind of my job on Fridays. And after I'd had the experience through Hanban to go to China, I actually felt like there's some things I can really teach. And I thought, I'm going to invite Xiao Chen to come in. We always were a little skeptical. I thought, I don't know if I can deal with 60 first graders in one classroom. But we did it this year. Every Friday, we had a Chinese culture lesson, and it was fabulous. It was just so I would teach part of it in English until January when the kids are Chinese only. And then we'd go to her classroom, and she would teach a concept of Chinese culture to them. And then she would say to them, you have to tell Mrs. Porter because she doesn't know what's going on. And they loved that. Yeah, that was just
Yes. So this year, we've been tried. Like by January 15, they all came to my classroom, and by that time, they do not allow to speak English. There will be immersion in Chinese only. And then we have several lessons that done in the Chinese classroom. One is introduced about the difference between U.S. money and Chinese money. And the kids can tell the difference, and in Chinese to verbally tell them, tell the teachers and tell everybody. And we also had another lessons about using chopsticks. It's a fun game. We just want to integrate the cultural license and make the learning fun, and the kids are more engaged in any activity you just.
Right, and those are big motivating things. I think we often think of those types of activities as ways to really keep our kids motivated, keep them going when they might be a little discouraged with the language. I've always thought, though, that probably the deepest cultural experience our students have is having a native Chinese teacher year after year. If you think about all of the cultural things that happen interpersonally when we interact with each other, I'm wondering if we could ask our students their feelings on that. What type of experience was it for you culturally having native Chinese teachers?
Just like switching from Chinese teachers every year it was kind of a bit of a shock because they taught different ways and they wanted you to do certain things certain ways. So it took a little bit to adjust to that, but you get to the point where you left off last year and then you progress from that. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, and going along with that, they all have their own way, but also the culture in the classroom is very different between China and America. And so learning that was even just starting in first grade, like that was a cultural lesson that I think we were learning without even realizing it, because you had to adjust to, they were very different classrooms. So I think that was a really cool lesson that we did learn.
Could you be a little specific about maybe some of the things that you learned about Chinese culture as you adjusted to the teachers?
Just like how much respect you should give the teacher is a big one. Because Yeah, you know,
Hey, I
they
want some
know.
respect too.
Because in America, it's very different from in China. Because in China, teachers know that they will get the highest amount of respect, but in America, the students are sometimes less than respectful. So
I'll give you an example though,
All-
because Xiao Chen, I had to learn that Chinese does everything with numbers. Like, I don't have a seating chart. I'm very relaxed. The kids can choose where they just know there's consequences if they talk to the person and they have to be moved. But hers was very numbered. You're in line in a number. Your backpack goes with a number. And so I was like, wow. And at first I was like, oh, are the kids going to be able to adjust to that? What did you guys think? I thought it was.
Oh, and it was just something you
It's
learned
just
from the
something you
start.
knew when you walked into that classroom,
Yeah,
right?
and another
This
thing
is the number class.
another thing that we learned through that, I think, was that you have to really pay attention to what they're asking you because they expect that you understand what they expect that you understand what they're asking from the start, and they have their very own way of doing things, which was actually a really good lesson to learn because that's kind of how it is as you grow up, especially as you get into older grades. But that was just something they expect from a young age, which was kind of a really important part of our learning.
I want to say something. It's such a culture shock to teach in the first year of dual immersion program. I taught 3 years in my hometown country, Beijing, China, as a kindergartner teacher. And when I first came here, the first year was really hard. Because when you think a teacher or a Chinese teacher always think, like, we're right there, and the student are right there. So, so we expect them to respect us in many ways. But the first time when I came here, I just realized, wow, it's different. If I want the kids to learn something, I need to build a relationship with them first. This is the big lesson that I learned from the first year of teaching. It was exhausted, but I learned a big lesson. I learned you need to build a relationship with them first, and then they opened up. They want to learn what you want to teach them. It's a really big turning point for my teaching. I just feel like this is really important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To let the kids to believe you and love you, like you. And I always tell myself, the first month is really an exhausted time. And I will ensure that even for some choirs, they came to my classroom in tears and have emotional, falling apart. I will make sure by the time the bell rang, they left my classroom with a happy smile on it. Because parents are looking for how they're feeling, how they're doing, how in school. They more care about the emotional part. Compare a Chinese teacher, what did you learn today? So it's a big culture shock. So it makes me more emphasis on building the relationship with my American kiddos.
And she's very good at it.
Oh, thank you. You helped me a lot.
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that relationship with the teacher was really important, and I think that our best learning throughout our years has been when we've been able to find almost like our own culture, mixing the two, and being able to have the relationship with the teacher, and it just it's like a different classroom, and it's just like you wanted to go there and one of the things I've really enjoyed learning is Chinese culture, and the teachers that taught that best were those that really tried to be in tune with us and not just teach us, because some of our teachers were just like, this is what I'm supposed to teach you and this is what I'm going to teach you. And then some teachers wrote their own books and were like, we're going to go at your pace and do how you're going to learn it. And that was the best way we learned, for sure.
Yolao, sir, do you have a comment on on the level of respect of students or how that works, that relationship?
Yeah, the relationship is very, very important. It's the foundation of our learning or teaching. So sometimes when I do the lesson plan, I will try to think us like students. How will they feel if I teach in this way? And how can we be happier, have more fun together to learn towards our learning targets?
Mm-hmm. Hilda, maybe you could tell us as a parent looking in on this situation and building that relationship with teachers. In our immersion program, as you may know, we don't allow the parents and the teacher to speak in English if students are present. And we try to keep that secret. So how has it worked for you communicating with teachers?
The first year, my daughter thought I was in trouble every time I went to class, because Chen Lao Shi was like, because we'd go out into the hallway to talk. But I was fortunate because we had teachers that wanted us to come in, and so I was able to help out with whatever we were doing, which makes it great. They're very open with us coming in, and even if it's not participating in class, it's taking papers home, it's open communication. I just lost my train of thought, but I wanted to say this. In China, I sat in, and as a teacher, you have to build a relationship, but you still have silly. It's just part of who we are. We're silly people, and we can't sit still for more than 5 minutes. I've been here this whole time going, it's more than 15 minutes, rotate. No. But, in China, I was shocked. We went to a music class, and the kids, they listened, they didn't move. I was thinking, whoa. This is crazy, because they were fourth graders. But as soon as that bell rang, it was crazy. So it was really neat to see, but I think that's been the greatest thing is that our teachers, and it sounds like it's going on here too, have been very open to us coming into the classroom, asking questions, helping out, and calling us into the hallway. But yeah, it's true. And vice versa, they have been very open with me. My oldest was very excited, like I said, but my youngest struggled. And that was just because she was shy every time you change teachers. And one of her teachers, she's here, so this is funny. She came up to me and she said, I just need to talk to you. She said, your youngest is kind of struggling. She's not really participating. I asked her something and she saw someone's hand go up and she said, oh, she knows the answer. Talk to her. So I have just so much love and appreciation for the patience that they have with our children and with us, because we're also on a learning curve. So I think it's been incredible, and I'm just grateful for it. And honestly, we haven't had many hiccups because of the teachers we've been involved with.
Thank you.
Stacy, can I just really
Sure.
quickly vouch for the patience of our guest teachers? So every year when guest teachers would leave to go home, I would honor them with a gift. And year after year, I was giving them these really cute clocks. And it wasn't until the third year that someone was brave enough to tell me, you really shouldn't give us clocks. Because I think I was wishing them death or something. So, but they smiled and took those gifts for a long time.
We'll put that into our next principal training. Do not give clocks. Well, we're winding down here, but I do want to take the chance to check in with our 9th grade students here who have just took the Chinese AP test last week. And as they've mentioned, they're the first cohort, and so all the first cohort people tell us that they are guinea pigs. And you could look at, that's one way to look at it, but we do appreciate their patience and their willingness to take that first step, to be that pioneer. So just real briefly, if you could just give us a snapshot of your AP experience.
Do you want to go?
And you can tell the truth.
It was a different experience. It was really cool. I mean, we started studying, we'd been learning Chinese for 9 years, but we got our practice textbooks like 4 months in advance and started studying, and we'd go every morning, and we got ready, and then we had everything ready, and we go to take the test, and about everything we had studied just went out the door. And it was a really long 5-hour test, but it was a really cool experience because I felt like we were actually, going into it, I was like, okay, I've done a lot to prepare, but I'm not really confident in I'm going to do well. And although it was not the easiest test I've taken, it was still, I felt prepared, and I was really grateful for all the preparation I had been given.
Yeah, so the test was really hard, but after it was done, I had to take another AP test. It was actually yesterday. But I went into the test, and I'm like, I took the Chinese one, so I'm not afraid of anything now.
Yeah.
It was definitely a big confidence builder.
And now you'll be able to help next year's 9th graders, right, when they get ready, give them some advice. I did hear McKay actually ended up going overseas during spring break and getting some tutoring from somebody who'd been through the test before as well. Mary Beth, just looking ahead to the future very quickly, how do you see the program moving forward? You're in a district that's removed from Salt Lake area. You're kind of running the ship down there in southern Utah. What are the pieces of that?
Well, the pieces of the program, I think, is building a community. And I think that's where we've seen our greatest success with the program, is that it isn't just about the students or the teachers and principals. It's really, truly building an entire community that will support our program and understand it. And recently we honored volunteer grandparents. I don't know if you have anything like that, where they come into the schools and they help out. And there was a luncheon honoring all of them. And they had been volunteering at one of our Chinese immersion programs. And the kids then came in and performed similarly. And the thought, I sat there and thinking 7 years ago that we would have honoring our volunteer grandparents with the Chinese immersion students, and having these two groups of people come together is truly amazing. And so we have reached out and we have literally changed the face and voice of our community, and that's just really exciting. And with that, I see endless growth.
Wonderful. Well, we're just about out of time here. Last question, if we could have each of our panelists take about 30 seconds to think about and share with us, give a shout out to one person that has been pivotal in your experience with the immersion program. One person, a significant moment, or something that really made a difference for you. Who's ready? All right, let's go back here.
Okay. I am really thankful for my 8th grade Chinese teacher, Yang Lao-shi, and all she did to help me. And although during this program I've never really wanted to quit or leave, but during middle school it got kind of rough and we were kind of really slowing down. And it was getting really boring and we weren't learning very much. But then she took us in and she was like, we're going to get going here and you guys need to get ready because you guys are not near ready for what you need to be. And so that experience, and she got me to really, and that's when I started really, really enjoying Chinese culture, and we learned so much that year. And I was really thankful, and that was a really big part of my learning.
Thank you. Is Yang Lao-shi here? I don't know if she's here today or not.
I just want to say something to appreciate my partner teacher, Julie Porter. She has been a wonderful partner teacher to work with, very supportive since day one of this program. I jump in. And I just know no matter what situation I'm in, and I have her just by my side, support me no matter what. And when the first year you have some culture shock with parents' communication, and I just know her. She will help me and support me in so many ways. I just really grateful to work with her, and she made me feel this is something I can do to teach for 6 years. Yeah, so thank you.
Very critical, very critical. Build those relationships.
I'll go ahead and go. I want to thank she's retired now, but when you have a principal that has that fire and believes in language, Colleen Densley was, first of all, that she had the faith that I could do this, because we both were just the blind leading the blind. We didn't know what we were going to do. And there were a lot of hard days that I could go into her office and say, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. I have 60 kids, but I'm just grateful that she could talk me off some ledges and to realize that it really was rewarding in all that we did on there. So
let's go to Yo Lao-shi.
I want to thank to my wife. And I want to say sorry to her because this morning I lived in a hurry and I forgot to wear my ring. I'm married. I love you. I hope I didn't sleep in a couch tonight. And our relationship is a little special because she is also a 2nd grade Chinese student immersion teacher. So we kind of like a 2nd grade team at our house. We can talk a lot of things together. So I'm very grateful for her support for me. Thank you so much.
Great.
I just want to say, 谢谢 Chen 老师，谢谢. You owe
Marty
me
Chen.
for getting me on this panel. No, I have a great appreciation and love for her and the excitement she not only gave my children, but allowed me to participate and has been very supportive even as she's moved on and my kids have moved on. So a
Stacey.
big thank you to her.
Sorry.
Go right ahead.
I can't narrow it down to one, but I think of our students. So students, watching them as young as 6 years old, persevering and working through things that are really hard. I think you said it really well. If I can do this, I can do anything. And that's what we see with our kids in Immersion. They are incredible.
I cannot narrow it down just to one person. Just everybody who's helped us with this program and believed in us, because I didn't know that I could learn a second language in first grade. But just everybody who believed in us and helped us and showed their enthusiasm for the program, those were the people that you remembered. And I'd like to thank them for helping us with this.
I have to say, all of my teachers, I can't narrow it down. They're amazing. They are just part of my life, and my husband and I adopt each and every one of them, and we're just so grateful. We'll have over 40 teachers next year, so we're so grateful. But Stacey, we couldn't do it without you. You lead us with grace and elegance, and we're grateful.
Thank you. I think we can see from what we've heard that this is a one-to-one business, one teacher to one student, one teacher to a parent, and we appreciate all that all of you do in each of your respective programs. Thank you very much.